Hey guys, welcome to the Heart of David. Hope you guys are doing well today. We know what today is, and whatever God has in store for whatever it is what we have to accept. But it doesn't mean we don't. It doesn't mean that you and I can't pray for it and that it won't have an effect. So, whatever it is, just remember that God's in control. Not dealing well in my abdomen today. Haven't been ever since I started my school. So it just got worse. Probably the stress. But today's topic is, well, let's just say the reason I'm making this is because of, so I'll say my own experience, but because of what I heard about Tucker Carlson. So, the Bible doesn't really, there's strange stuff in the Bible, of course there is. And they talk about, when King Saul with the medium, remember he pretended to be someone else, and he brought up Samuel. There's stuff like that, and we know that there is a spirit world and all that type of stuff. But when it gets into things like sleep paralysis and demons, which I don't have a single doubt about that those are demons in there, and I'll get to that in a second. But I can understand if you're a born-again Christian, it's very difficult to try to persuade someone of the truth, right? And in the same way, and probably even worse, probably even much more difficult, is, for instance, if I'm a non-believer, just picture someone listening to this for the first time who doesn't know Christ. Tucker Carlson, right? I believe he's changed a lot, and I believe he's changed for a certain reason, probably because of what you heard on, or may not have heard about what he said about he was attacked by a demon. Now, I'm not saying for sure if that was, but well, let's just talk about having a difficult time. Let's just talk about what he went through. What am I talking about? I heard a video the other day, and this, I think this happened to him a year and a half ago. I'm quite aware that Tucker Carlson has been reading the scriptures. I know that because he was talking about Abraham and Sarah, and it sounded like he was starting to become somewhat proficient. And so, that's a good thing. That's what we want, right? And I'm not trying to judge Tucker Carlson, but, when you see him on Fox News, which I found quite entertaining, it seemed like he really looked down on people, but because of the actions that they were doing. That's just Fox News. I believe he's changed since that time. I don't see him doing those same things anymore, and it's probably due to the experience that he went through, and that he's reading the scriptures now. That's my guess. Give me a break here, guys. So I knew he was reading the Bible, but I didn't know why. We all have our reasons why we start doing that. And his is actually quite similar to mine, but a bit different. No, I didn't have scratches on my body or anything like that. But so this is what I heard I think it was 2 or 3 days ago. So he was doing an interview, and he said that he was in his bed with his dogs, and the scratches that he have in his body wouldn't be created by a dog. You have to see them yourself, but But it is a plausibility, considering the times that you and I are living in. I'm having a hard time with my throat and trying to get breathless. It's because of a kidney stone. And my throat disorder. He said, I guess he was in his bed with his wife and his dogs, and he went to sleep. And I'm supposing I didn't hear the explanation of what happened in that, but I think he said something to the effect that he was being suffocated. You don't have to look any further to understand that would be sleep paralysis. Sleep paralysis can present itself in, I think it's 3 or 4 different ways. I don't think it's more than 4. One of those is, and I remember the statistics, is something like 10 to 12% of people will get a sleep paralysis episode at some point in their life. So 10 to 12% of the population will get that. So they've experienced that. If you've had sleep paralysis, you understand that there's something out there, something really evil. But you may get it once and forget about it. But if you get it a lot more than that, then you really understand. For a lot of people, all it takes is one episode. For me, it took one episode to push me further towards Christ. It did. And I'll get at that in a second. So he said he had some, I believe he said that, some type of smothering thing. You may know further than I do. And it was just really evil. He woke up and he went to the mirror, or I don't know at what point it was, but it was probably soon after, and he noticed that he had scratches on his shoulder, like big, long claw marks. And I've seen other stories that are similar, and I don't know what to believe about that, but what he explained about the other made sense, and that he's studying the scriptures himself gives me some kind of evidence, and it appears to me that he does believe. So I notice a change in him, and I'm not making it about this worldly things. That's not what I'm doing. You know, on Fox News, how, you know, the people that he would speak to on Fox News, a lot of people did deserve the things he said, but not in the way he belittled them. And that's why he was so popular. We're talking about like against woke people and stuff like that. You know, then he leaves Fox News and he says he sees, you know, what he was trapped in and the mainstream media and all this type of stuff. And I just see in his demeanor a different person. That's all I want to say. This isn't really about Tucker Carlson. I'm just giving you an overview. Whatever happened to him happens to a lot of people, and I can understand someone maybe interested or not interested in the Bible would look at that and say, well, there's another crazy Christian. They have no idea. They have no idea. To my, you know, some of my unbelieving family, right, that I want to have saved, I've said, I'm not kidding you. I'm saying, God, please, God, send one of those sleep paralysis episodes to him so he can understand, because it's not going to hurt him. It might hurt him in the spirit, but so I'll get to my own. So when I hear what Tucker Carlson was going through, less those marks, not those marks, I didn't go through that. It reminds me of how I came to Christ, getting towards born again. It was a whole mixture of different things, but that was one. I'll tell you about it. Ever since I got sick from this and then got that gallbladder disorder, It was like 6 months, no more than 6 months after that, I started getting chronic kidney stones, just one after the other after the other. I get a CT scan, I'd have like 8 or 12 of them in my kidneys. And I understand some of the foods they do that, but it wasn't like that. I've been eating like that for a long time. I know it was that. I have them all the time. I just have chronic kidney stones. Those oranges I eat would usually suffice and do pretty good for them. It was taking away probably, I believe I said like 95% of what I was going through, but it's always a battle, right? And so when I started university, I just remember I didn't feel stressed up to even the day before. But I remember waking up and just thinking, you have to get to it, you have to get to it. There's a lot of work and there's a lot of reading. And I've been like that ever since. And I'm like, like, what's wrong? Like, I'm actually not really that stressed out about it, but I guess it's having an effect, and stress causes kidney stones. So that's what's been happening to me. It's been brutal. Still been able to do all my work, and I like doing it. I hope I acclimatize. Enough about me. Give me another second, guys. I take on a lot of stress willingly, to live a good life. But all right, I've said this story, but I will say it again. It's been quite a while since I've talked about this. I think it's pretty well known because I've seen a lot of it on Christian YouTube videos. That when I think the spiritual world, the demons in the spiritual world, I think they know when you're about to make some type of breakthrough or you're going to find something out. I'm sure they know good and bad things. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but I was talking with a woman for a number of months, and she had taken her life, and I didn't know about it. And at the same time, I met, like right around that time. I'm not talking about like relationship. It wasn't that. It was just friends. And there was another woman, this narcissist who I told you about. It was right around this time. Actually, I had to calculate later if this was the day after, and it was, because how do I explain this? I had my first sleep paralysis episode, my very first one, and I had to look back to see if it was that timing, and it was. That it turned out because people didn't know about this woman. She I don't know, I think after she took her life, she was like still alone in her apartment. She had died. And for a number of days. So I had to look back to make sure that later on, like many, many months or a couple of years after actually, if it was the timing. The night that she did that, I went to sleep that night and had my first attack of a demon. Coincidence? And it was at around the same time that I met this narcissist. You make your own assumptions about that. Yes, I believe in Jesus Christ, but I wasn't born again. And I know what you're going to say about that. I didn't have faith. And I'm not going to do a debate with anyone about this. I understand that you believe you're saved. I had no faith because of the stuff that I was going through in my life. Very difficult things, no diagnosis for my pain disorders. which I got later. It was scary. My first one wasn't... Okay, so first I'm going to tell you this. In these sleep paralysis episodes, they can appear in, I think, 4 different capacities. The first, which most people have, is the feeling of being smothered, crushed. You're trapped in REM sleep, which means you're still awake and your eyes may be open, but you're trapped in REM sleep and you can't get up. So you could be in like this dream state. But people will say, well, it's just a dream. No, it isn't. Not this. Across all cultures, people report the same things. And the only way they stop that they know of across cultures is saying the name Jesus Christ, calling out Jesus Christ. You can look at the studies. Go look for them. There are huge, they did a really, really big study, one of the biggest ones. There was like thousands of people that they interviewed about this, but so there's being smothered. You either feel like you're being smothered by your blanket or your pillow, and you know somebody's doing it. And it's horrifying. That's what most people go through. But I had many afterwards. The particular one that so you can feel like you're flying, which is actually quite nice, but it can be mixed in with a terrifying feeling. And I'm not going to get into those. You're going to have to look back at my videos. You can have mixed episodes, so you can feel like you're being smothered and also flying, and you can actually see the demon itself. It's out of, say I've had 100 of them, I've only seen face-to-face a demon. Oh, actually, no, it isn't. It's more like 7 or 8 times, because that's right, because they appear as people you know. They can also sexually molest you, and there's nothing that you can do about it. Pretty crazy. So the first one was my mother, and that's very common. They say there's one of them, and it's called the old hag, and that's what it was, but it had a mixture of my mom's face. And for some reason, it was in my old family room. And it appears like my mother's standing in front of me, but it's this old hag. And it's telling me that I'm going to hell. And I'm looking at this thing, and it's moving back and forth, and I don't know, I was really scared. It felt like it went on forever. And when I finally did get up, what an oppressing feeling. When I finally did get up, I realized that for certain I knew there was a hell. That was the point where I really started to turn around and moving towards Christ, like really moving towards it. But at the same time, I was dealing with this narcissist, and anyways, you've heard of that, how that turned out for the better. Give me a sec. I'm not sure of how many Christians versus people who don't believe anything, or just Gnostic or whatever. I don't know what those stats are, but I'm willing to bet a lot of Christians do get it. Just by me making this video today, it happens a lot whenever I happen to, if it's near the end of my night, and I'm looking to watch some type of video, and it happens to be someone talking about sleep paralysis, demons, It's happened when just that night that I got one. I wouldn't be shocked if I got one tonight from making this video. This is all I want to say. I'm clear-headed. Well, actually, less clear-headed because of my kidneys, but because this makes it very difficult to concentrate. What I'm here to say is that these things are real. Don't you find it strange that Tucker Carlson would come out about that? And isn't it funny that he's reading the scriptures? I can see the change in him. Like a more reserved type thing. They're real. They're scary. I think that's just about all I wanted to say, because I am going through a rough time. It's easier for me to make a video in this shape down there. I suppose I will say this and then I'll stop the video. I had a sleep paralysis dream. I'm just going to call it sleep paralysis. And by the way, I believe, you know when you hear about people having UFO stories and that they were abducted and all this type of stuff, and it sounds nuts. You have to wonder how many of these stories are actually true. Not UFO abductions, not in that sense. In the sense that they fell asleep somewhere, like their car, like their bed, like their couch. Because the things that I've seen in these, people react differently to situations. So when someone comes out of a sleep paralysis episode, they may make their entire life about, this is what happened to me. I was abducted, when it was just really a sleep paralysis demon. They will try to attack you sexually. They will. So I remember say you're in your bed, right? You fall asleep. What you see, you can appear in some type of room, and it doesn't have to be your room. It doesn't have to be your room. For me, usually it's just like this space, like a living room space or a family room. And on this particular occasion, I was in one of my older rooms of my house. Okay, this happened here, of my old house, and I'm in the bed. I wasn't being smothered. This was a different one. So here I am lying in the bed, okay, looking up at, say I'm looking at you as looking at the ceiling. Over here there's a window and the blinds are up and it's pitch black outside. All you can see is black at the window. And I felt like there was something in the room. There was a presence. It was a demon. It was an evil feeling. All of a sudden, like that flying feeling started to occur. I started to feel like I was not levitating, but I guess kind of like being pulled off my bed very slowly and very smoothly. And it was pulling me sideways. And all of a sudden I realized there was something under my bed. And it was an evil entity. I also felt it right outside the bedroom door, and I also felt it out the bedroom window. So this thing was pulling me off the bed. All of a sudden, I'm off the bed and slowly moving towards the floor. You think of movies like Poltergeist, right? Right? Where that puppet goes underneath the bed. So as I'm going down, I'm like, I don't want to see what's under the bed. And then all of a sudden, the window opens. And I start going up high. So I'm down right on the ground. I start going up high. and I'm going, the window opens, and there's something evil outside that window, completely pitch black, right? And I'm starting to move towards the window, and I realize if I go out that window, I've told this story before, if I go out that window, whatever it is going to get me, or I'm going to keep going up and up and up and up and go out to space, to somewhere where I'm trapped forever. Very strange. That was a mix. That was what you would call a mix. They're very complicated, very intricate. Some are just straight up smothering you. Some are sexually abusing you. Or they can be right in front of your face. So the time that it was in front of my face, yes, it was the old hag. I've had ones where it's people that you would never guess would be in it, but they take their form. It's called sleep paralysis, and that's what I wanted to talk about. So when you look at the Tucker Carlson story, you understand by me explaining to you here, which I've had great difficulty as my painkiller starts to work. There's evil out there, and for me, it helped push me towards the truth. And the thing is, this story could go out to people who think I'm insane, and I don't care. Look at the time we're living in. You can see evil straight-faced. There's I don't know what you call it, this world, and then there's the spiritual world, as Paul says. I think it might be difficult for some people to understand, but it's never been difficult for me to understand. When you die, you only go one of two places, heaven or hell. There is no in between. So, and by the way, I do hope Trump wins. I don't want to become political about that, but I know what good and evil looks like. You know, good versus evil. And I know that video I made about Trump. I don't know. I'm just putting out a theory. But if he is a good person, then I hope he wins, right? But it's for the people. Because I saw his 4 years, the other 4 years. But the birth pains are very strong. So, who knows? Maybe there will be a small period of peace. And the rest of the world will hinge off of what happens with this. You may not believe it, but I know it to be the truth. So, always hope for the good. But remember, it's always in God's hands. God bless.